In a moment that will be forever remembered in South Africa's parliamentary history, businessman turned politician Gayton McKenzie dared to ask President Cyril Ramaphosa a question so piercing and uncompromising that it took the president aback and sent members of the ruling African National Congress visibly agitated. The encounter occurred during a parliamentary sitting already filled with tension, but McKenzie's bold and unflinching tactics turned what should have been a routine session into a dramatic political confrontation. It became instantly apparent that McKenzie would not be playing by the normal rules of manners or parliamentary decorum. As he stood up to speak, the mood changed immediately, the murmur of discussion ceased, and all eyes turned toward him. His eyes narrowed, his voice unshakable, and the air within the chamber thickened with expectation. For an instant, even the most seasoned parliamentarians caught their breath, aware that what he was about to say would pierce through years of political nicety and reveal unpleasant truths long unspoken. When McKenzie began speaking, his voice carried the authority of a man articulating the anger of millions of ordinary South Africans. His tone was measured yet powerful, his delivery sharp and edged with urgency that demanded attention. "Mr. President," he asked, "can you tell us why corruption is still prospering under your leadership despite being made hundreds of promises to this nation's people? How do you explain policies that continue to fail ordinary citizens while the rich thrive unabated?" The question fell like a thunderclap, blunt, unvarnished, and brutally honest, a call to accountability rarely made so openly in South Africa's legislature. President Ramaphosa, usually calm and unruffled in such moments, seemed taken aback. His usual composure faltered as he paused before answering, and that brief hesitation, though lasting only seconds, spoke volumes. The response on the ANC benches was instant. Several MPs fidgeted uncomfortably in their seats, others whispered nervously, their eyes averted as though hoping the tension would vanish. What had started as a typical parliamentary session had suddenly transformed into a moment of public reckoning. Political pundits and journalists following the live broadcast immediately recognized the enormity of what they were witnessing. It was not merely an exchange between an opposition MP and the president, it was a symbolic confrontation exposing deep fissures within the political establishment itself. "What we witnessed today was not a question," one political analyst remarked afterward. "It was a mirror held up to the ANC, revealing the growing unease within the party and the erosion of its once iron discipline." The ripple of embarrassment that ran through the hall was real, an expression of an institution grappling with its own contradictions and the mounting frustration of a public tired of unfulfilled promises. McKenzie's audacity, reinforced by his reputation as a plain-spoken reformer unafraid to challenge the powerful, lent the moment additional gravity. His personal history as a self-made entrepreneur turned political reformer made his words all the more believable, and his sincerity echoed beyond Parliament's walls. Within minutes, clips of the exchange flooded social media. Videos of McKenzie's questions spread rapidly across X, TikTok, and Facebook, reaching millions. South Africans hailed his courage, praising him for saying what so many had long wished to express. "At last, someone had the courage to ask the real questions," one supporter commented. Another wrote, "He spoke for all South Africans who are sick of corruption and excuses." Soon, demands for accountability and leadership reform trended nationwide, amplifying citizens' calls for transparency and honesty. What began as a parliamentary query had evolved into a national conversation about trust, integrity, and the future of governance. Inside Parliament, tension lingered. ANC members scrambled to save political face, dismissing the moment as mere opposition theatrics, though their unease was evident. Some issued denials, others stayed rigidly silent, while a few nervously fidgeted with papers as McKenzie's words continued to hang in the air. Even Ramaphosa's staunch supporters appeared shaken, their confidence momentarily giving way to uncertainty. Across the aisle, opposition MPs looked invigorated, their energy renewed by the bluntness of McKenzie's challenge. What began as one man's question had become a spark for renewed parliamentary vitality, and for the first time in a long while, accountability felt tangible. Political analysts quickly framed the exchange as a potential turning point in South Africa's political culture. For years, the ANC had maintained tight internal control and disciplined messaging. But McKenzie's bold challenge proved that such strategies could no longer shield leaders from public scrutiny. People want truth now, one commentator observed. They're fed up with slogans, they want real answers. For President Ramaphosa, the encounter became more than a political embarrassment, it was a test of leadership under pressure. His failure to counter McKenzie's question with a confident, immediate response reinforced the perception of a leader struggling to command authority. He's always been calm and collected, one observer noted, but today, we saw a glimpse of vulnerability. That vulnerability, analysts warned, could have lasting implications for his presidency, especially as economic hardship, joblessness, and corruption scandals continue to erode public confidence. In the days following the clash, political rumblings grew louder. Television panels, radio talk shows, and newspapers dissected every moment as citizens debated its meaning. Civil society groups praised McKenzie's intervention as a powerful reminder that those in power remain answerable to those they govern. Within the ANC, reports of internal discomfort surfaced. Party insiders admitted that Ramaphosa's faltering response had raised questions about his ability to manage internal dissent. Veteran members reportedly cautioned that unless the president regained control and reconnected with the public, his leadership could face new crises. Meanwhile, public reaction was intense. Across cafes, town halls, and online spaces, citizens discussed the exchange not merely as political theater, but as a reflection of growing national frustration. He said what we've all been thinking, a Cape Town resident remarked. Our leaders talk about progress, but we're still waiting to see it. For many, McKenzie's courage symbolized that South Africa's democracy, though strained, still provided space for truth-telling and accountability. It was a reminder that even in a political system dominated by power and privilege, dissenting voices could still ignite meaningful dialogue. Ultimately, McKenzie's question was more than a parliamentary provocation, it was a charge against complacency, a symptom of shifting public sentiment and mounting disillusionment with politicians who preach reform but deliver little. Above all, it underscored one truth: the era of silent citizenship in South Africa is ending. The people want more action, more transparency, and more honesty from their leaders.